letting my people go. Peace, shalom,
This is a list I'm not supposed to have, and you're not supposed to see. It's a list of 7,200,000 voters. Maybe you're on the list. If your name's on this secret list, your ballot can get canceled. Legally, this is no joke. Why? Because you've been accused of voting twice. Who in the world would be so devious, so slithery and deceitful that they would accuse millions of Americans of committing the felony crime of voting many times?
This voting system is out of control. You have people, in my opinion, that are voting many, many times.
Voting many times, Donald? You claim millions of Americans commit voter fraud? That's how they plan to steal this election. How do I know? How do I get these lists? I'm Greg Pallas. I'm an investigative reporter. Back in 2000, I was working for BBC Television, and I uncovered a list of 56,000 black men and women who were scrubbed off the voter rolls of Florida. That list stole the presidency for George W. Bush. Now, in 2016, I've uncovered a list that's bigger, that's nastier, and that stinks of the worst Jim Crow trickery. The trick is called cross-check, and it's ethnically cleansing the voter rolls of 29 states, mostly controlled by Republicans, including the swing states of Ohio and North Carolina. They simply find a voter has your first and your last name. Then you and the other Maria Hernandez both lose your votes, even if your middle names are different. Even if you're father and son, they're going to take away your vote. So how would cross-check steal an election? I'll check out the names on the list. Hernandez, Wong, and nearly 250,000 Jacksons. In other words, voters of color. In the swing state of Virginia, they've already removed the voting rights of 41,000 Americans, accused of the crime of voting twice, yet they haven't arrested one. In 1965, Martin Luther King and a courageous few gave their blood to win the Voting Rights Act. Then, in 2013, the act was gutted. The result? Cross-check. When cross-check rolls out to the other states, 1 million of you will lose your right to vote this November. That means more than swiping the White House. It means swiping control of the House and Senate. That's their real goal. Want to know who's behind this ugly business? A small circle of men who believe their billions are worth more than your ballot. Black votes matter. Asian votes matter. Latino votes matter. Your vote matters. But not to these guys. With this cross-check list, they're going to take us back 50 years to the time when your right to vote was determined by the color of your skin. This is lynching by laptop. But instead of white sheets, they're using spreadsheets. Let's expose it. Then we can stop it.
Wait. comprehensive Forbes report revealed that Eric Trump and Papa Trump were engaging in fuckery of the worst kind within their charities, Eric Trump decided to go on Sean Hannity and say this about Democrats.
I've never seen hatred like this. To me, they're not even people.
This is remarkable because Eric Trump might not know this or care, but Democrats happen to make up a large chunk of the U.S., and we know for a fact that they make up a larger percentage of voters, since, you know, your dad actually lost the popular vote. Eric also might not realize this, but those non-people are still people whose best interests Trump is supposed to represent. Very telling. But to me, this part is extra funny.
Morality's just gone. We deserve so much better than this as a
You're
country.
right. Yes, Eric, I agree. America does deserve more. But let's talk about morality. Let's not forget that this subhuman young Gary Busey clone was recently outed for skimming funds from his charity meant for kids with cancer to build his business and help his papa. But here, let's have Eric describe his business model.
We were able to come up with this concept of raising a lot of money with really no expense. We were taking on the expense as Trump. We were using our own facilities. And it really made it a very, very efficient model, and one that allowed us to raise a tremendous amount of money for St. Jude's.
According to Forbes, St. Jude's was not the only thing that they were raising money for. They would throw these golf tournaments to raise money for St. Jude's, then send over smaller donations to other charities instead, with hopes that those charities would come back next year and use their golf courses to raise money, at which point they would pay in full to the Trump organization. He also did redirect funds to Papa illegally. But why is this a surprise? I mean, our glorious leader has a history of misusing other people's charitable donations to his foundation. This is the Trump MO.
Would you be willing to speak under oath?
I will testify for you. I'm a gun for hire. I'm a saint. I'm a liar. Because there are no facts. There is no truth. Just data to be manipulated. I can get you any result you like. What's it worth to you? Because there is no wrong. There is no right. And I sleep very well at night. No shame. No solution. No remorse. No retribution.
And did he ask for a pledge of loyalty from you? That's another thing he said.
No, he did not. And I didn't say under oath. I hardly know the man. I'm not going to say, I want you to pledge allegiance. Who would do that? Who would ask a man to pledge allegiance under oath? I mean, think of it. I hardly know the man. It doesn't make sense. Okay, wait. Let's do a pledge. Everybody here, who likes me in this room? Okay. I've never done this before. Can I have a pledge, a swearing? Raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear that I, no matter how I feel, no matter what the conditions, if there's hurricanes or whatever, that's good enough, will vote on or before the 12th for Donald J. Trump for president.
What do you think of what Hillary Clinton said about him, that he was a loose cannon?
Well, I think that she is a loose cannon. I think that she is worse than any other loose cannon ever.
This is Channel 5 Action News.
I'm just saying, there's attractive, and then there's you.
We love freedom. We love prosperity. We love to work. We love to share our prosperity with the people that we choose to share it with, not people the government tells us we have to give it to. It's my freedom, my money, my hard work, my labor. I can do what I want with it. And we want that freedom back. And the right to defend it.
Who's taking it?
Who's taking it? Okay. You know, that's a good question. I would say who's taking it is the people who say they represent us, the so-called leaders, which I call misleaders, who pretend to defend your rights, and every time you wake up in the morning, you find out there's another news story telling you how one of your rights has been violated, how your First Amendment rights are being violated, how I can't say something to hurt your feelings if you were gay and you were a Muslim. Because that's what they're saying now. Now all of a sudden the Muslim, all these shooters are gay and they're Muslim. I mean, really? I mean, well, how can you be gay and Muslim and expect to come to America and be free? Because that's an oxymoron. All right? There's nothing wrong with Muslims. There's nothing wrong with gay people. There's nothing wrong with blacks, Mexicans. But the the rhetoric that's being shared and like spread through the mainstream media wants to tell us that somehow we're racist or we're discriminatory or we're misogynist. It's just not true.
They're rapists. Save Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security without cuts. Have to do it.
When he said that he wasn't going to cut Medicaid or, the benefits, I believe that.
But the proposed new health care plan and the proposed federal budget cut hundreds of millions of dollars a year from Medicaid. The budget also makes cuts in programs ranging from food stamps to Social Security disability insurance.
I mean, I felt just like I was insulted, just like he played me for a fool. I kind of took it personal.
If you could do it over again, if election day were today, who would you vote for?
Hillary, without a doubt.
So what do you say to other people in this county who are upset about these federal programs possibly being cut?
Tough luck. I mean, it has to do. You have to nip it in the bud, as Barney Fife says. You got to nip it in the bud, and you got to start somewhere.
Where do you think really chocolatey chocolate milk comes from? A chocolate cow?
We need to build a wall, and it has to be built quickly.